Okay, we're on page 3 of the notes, and this is really the question you should be asking yourself. What makes a good print, and how do we use the basics of Photoshop to achieve the desired results? Let's go ahead and look at this chart. You'll see the corresponding basic tools in Photoshop. You'll see levels, 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 hue saturation, so on and so forth. So all we're going to cover tonight are the first four. Contrast only. What am I saying? That's a lot. Contrast, hue, color balance, color saturation, and luminance brightness. We're not going to get into sharpening or cropping or taking zits off of your teenager or any of that kind of stuff. We're going to touch a little bit on this eighth one here in just a second, but let me give you some definitions. The first one would be contrast is the difference in brightness between the light and dark areas of an image. This is two different images with the proper contrast in the middle. A high contrast image is kind of harsh and highlights are washed out. The shadow detail is blocked up. Whereas a low contrast image is kind of flat and lifeless. There's generally no black or anything like that. It's just mostly midtones more than anything. Proper contrast has something in between where we got plenty of shadow detail. We're not washing out any of the highlights, but it has enough pop, if you will, so that it's jumping out at you. And that's true of both of these images. There's a dictionary definition of color on page 3, but just keep in mind for a photographer, the three main attributes, components of color are hue, saturation, and luminance or brightness. It's pretty much the same thing. So let's talk about each one of those so you know what they mean. A hue is a single color cast or color name. Green is a hue, orange is a hue, red is a hue. There's an infinite number of hues in nature. Saturation is the intensity or purity of a hue. A pastel red is less saturated than, say, a fire engine red. Lime green has more saturation than, say, a chiffon green, so on and so forth. By the way, in color photography, 0% saturation is a black and white image. If it's oversaturated, it tends to look kind of Andy Warholish and unreal and electric, and so we don't want to do that. What makes a photograph unique? Remember, I mentioned there were 8 basic elements of a good color print, and this is number 8, that wow factor. How do you increase your wow factor? Increase its uniqueness. And what makes a photograph unique? To me, as a judge and as someone who is a student of photography, that's what sets an image apart from others. How many images have we all seen of the Coronado Bridge, but how many of them really stand out? And it's usually because one of the 5 things is unique compared to other images.